So in this video, we're going to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. But in this video, unlike the previous one, the leading coefficient is not going to be 1, okay? So we're going to have to actually do step 3 this time. All right, so let's review the steps. First thing, we want to be in standard form. We've got that here. Set the quadratic equal to 0. We've done that. Okay, if you've got an f of x or a y here, just replace that f of x or y with 0 here in step 1, okay? Second thing we want to do, we're going to go ahead and move the constant term over to the right side. And again, we want to leave space here because we're going to add the same value to both sides in just a second. So when we move -5 over to the right, it becomes +5, okay? Now, step 3, the leading coefficient needs to be 1. It's not, it's 4, okay? So I'm going to divide every term in here by that leading coefficient, which is a, in this case 4. All right, so 4x squared divided by 4 would be x squared. Negative 2x divided by 4 would be negative 2/4 x, which simplifies to negative 1/2 x. And then 5 divided by 4 would be 5/4, okay? So we should have x squared minus 1/2 x plus blank, okay, equals 5/4 plus blank, okay? Now we want to take our b value off to the side, step 4 here. We're going to divide b by 2, okay? So when I divide negative 1/2 by 2, it's the same as multiplying it by 1/2, which would give me negative 1/4. And when I square negative 1/4, I get 1/16, okay? So this value, 1/16, is what I'm going to replace the 2 question marks with. I'm going to add this to both sides to maintain balance, okay? We want to maintain balance. All right, so let's do that. So notice again that we're adding 1/16 to both sides, okay? Now, I can factor this trinomial, and I can simplify the right side here, okay? So remember, when I factor, it's going to be the square root of x squared, which is x, and it's going to be minus, in this case, whatever this b divided by 2 was, or b times 1/2. So when I solve this perfect square trinomial, I get x minus 1/4 to the second power. Here, I have to get a common denominator, 5/4. I'm going to make that into 20/16. Okay, multiply both top and bottom by 4. I get 20/16, and then I add 1/16 to that, and it gives me 21/16. Okay? The final step, step 7, we're going to solve the resulting quadratic equation. Okay? So square root of both sides. Okay? On the left side, I'm just going to get the binomial here, x minus 1/4. On the right side, I can't simplify square root of 21, so I leave that in my numerator. I can simplify the square root of 16, so that's why my denominator is 4, okay? And I need both positive and negative roots, so plus or minus, okay? First thing I want to do, let's use the positive root. So x minus 1/4 equals square root of 21/4. I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides, okay? So this would be considered an exact answer, or you can use a calculator and evaluate that, and you should get about 1.40. Okay, it's a little bit less than 1.40. All right? Then we want to use the negative root. So we want to use negative radical 21/4. Add 1/4 to both sides. Okay? Again, this would be considered an exact answer. On an SAT, you might see this as one of the options. Okay? Or we can evaluate that using a calculator, and we get about negative 0.90. Okay, it's just slightly bigger than negative 0.90. Okay? And this should be an approximation sign here, not an equal sign. Okay, so that's how you solve quadratic equations by completing the square if the leading coefficient is not 1.